Yeah.
Oh. Hi, it's Tech Thursday. I'm Cassie.
And I'm Nicole.
Sorry.
Oh.
No, I'm just a little like...
Yeah, we're both a little throaty today, so maybe it'll make our voices sound more alluring or something. But
isn't there a Friends episode when they're like trying to have this sexy rasp? I think it's Phoebe. I feel like if I was a character on Friends, I would be Phoebe. I would want to be Jennifer Aniston, but like personality-wise,
it'd probably be Monica.
I can see that. Not in a bad way. I mean,
she was crazy, but I'm also like, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm like the most like her. Wasn't she the only one who had like a job? Like, well, besides Ross.
Phoebe kind of had the coffee shop thing going on. Her weird, smelly cat.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Well, welcome to Tech Thursday. And besides talking about Friends today, we're going to talk about attributing things online, which is I think a timely topic and one that people even still struggle with,
right?
Even after all these years of internet.
Yeah. For some reason, this is making me think of like the days of learning MLA citation.
It makes me exactly think of that, especially when you start citing photos, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, so yeah, you were reading an article which prompted this, right?
Yes. Well, I saw something go by too on Twitter. It was a comedian. I don't remember which one it was because I'm not a pop culture person, unless it's Friends, apparently, which is a very recent. I haven't really watched Friends until I moved in with Allison.
Nice.
She was like, "Yeah, you need to catch up. You have so much to learn." So yeah, anyway, this comedian, I guess, stole jokes from Twitter, or that he had seen on Twitter, like they weren't twitter.com.
Yes.
Copyright.
Anyway. They were jokes. There were people who were joking around on Twitter and used them for material. Interesting.
And didn't attribute them. So, and everyone was like, not cool, dude. And I don't remember who it was. Like I said, maybe you know, and you can tell us. But
yeah.
Then this prompted a lot of articles on all these social media blogger people, and they were just like, our tweets protected intellectual property. Like, and I mean, my kind of response to that would be like, if someone shares something on Twitter and you want to take it or like share it with people, like how it's so easy to just be like,
right.
And I don't know.
I think it's a little clearer, and something we'll talk a little more about is kind of going from online to online, right? So I take a tweet and I share it on my blog. Like it's really easy to attribute that, but it's when you start taking stuff from online and putting it in real life, or vice versa, that it becomes a little harder. So for example, like I am obsessed with the book Bossy Pants by Tina Fey. And so whenever I take a line from it, I always say, well, as Tina Fey said in Bossy Pants, like,
yeah.
But it feels so like I'm being a fake intellectual or something when I do it. It's not that I want to take credit for her work, but it just kind of adds on to like, it's like joke, citation, like, so I'm never quite sure how to do it without sounding like a D-bag, honestly. Except to never quote Tina Fey, which is very difficult for me.
That's not a world I would like to live in.
It's not a world I would never either. Tina Fey. And I swear to God, I've read this book like 25 times. I could almost recite it like verbatim because I do that. Like I'll read something over and over again. So
it's like me with watching movies.
Right.
That's why I haven't seen anything new, because I just keep watching the same old thing.
Well, because you're gonna like it. I totally get that. Yeah. But it's a good point. And like honestly, yeah, like if I saw something from Twitter I thought was clever, I wouldn't like take it verbatim and put it on our account. I would like retweet it, right? But
yeah,
it's, because it's like the nice thing to do. And what I thought was funny on the article too is I like skimmed, because so Cassie shared the article and was like, oh, we should talk about this today. And I thought that was cool. And so I'm reading the article, and then on the bottom of it, it's so funny because they use this clearly stock image, right? Of like someone like pretending to hold, I don't know, it was something super generic. And then on the bottom it said like, image courtesy of Shutterstock. And I was like, okay, well, if you bought a stock image, you have the right to use it. So I don't know why you're attributing it, because like you paid for the rights to use it.
I wonder if it's just because
it was an article about attribution.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm curious is like, okay, I did click on
walking on eggshells, like.
And so yeah, And so that this, and we'll maybe link to the original article in this description. It was from Adweek. And so what I'm wondering is, in Adweek, are they, you know, is there other, you know, do they do that on every, I didn't click around to a bunch of different articles to see if they kept doing that. But I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, okay, you paid for the rights to use an image. And we'll talk about image use in a little bit too, because let's face it, sometimes stock images are not the most fantastic things to have to work with. But yeah, I mean, the other thing too with social media, so for example, with Facebook, what really annoys me is that when someone shares an article, there's a share button below it, right? So my options are I can share it publicly and I can't put any commentary on it. Like I just have to share it, like it basically is like Nicole shared a link and then it shows the link. Or it's like send in a private message, or it's, I forget what the third option is. But I'm like, okay, if I want to add my own commentary to it, I kind of have to take the link and paste it in myself and write my own commentary if I want that opportunity.
They've changed that on desktop in
Oh,
like
do
the
they?
past week. But I
good.
don't know what it's like on mobile. So now you can do share now with friends, which just shares with no commentary.
Okay.
Share ... which allows you to share, and then if you do share ...
Thank
you
you,
can share
Facebook.
it on a friend's timeline, on your own timeline with commentary, or on a page you manage, which is how I discovered it. Because I was like, how do I just do it on a page I manage?
Right.
I don't want it on my timeline.
Right. Well, and then the other thing too is that like,
But you can't do it on your phone. Yeah.
Okay. But so what I would do is I would tag the person. I would be like, thanks at Cassie, you know, and then I put, you know, and then I put my little comment and then I'd stick the link in. But, you know, I really try, you know, when I see something to attribute it to the person who sent it to me, because I think, first of all, it makes me less jerky, but also for a completely selfish point of view, if I'm not attributing stuff, people are not going to want to share things with me. They're going to be like, oh, you just take my ideas and don't give me any credit. I don't want to share anything with you.
That internet karma.
That internet karma. But so, you know, I like to attribute things when I can to the right people, even if I'm on social media. And even if I'm at a cocktail party talking about Tina Fey.
Yeah, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, so-and-so said this. And also, if you're worried about like sounding unoriginal or whatever, I just thought of this and I don't know how useful it is. But like, it's like, I don't know. It sounds like you know things or like you go out of your way to get information. So it's not like, it's like, oh, I heard this from so-and-so, or like, oh, this person's well connected and, you know.
It's true. Or, oh, this person reads things. They did it right. Good for them.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like it makes you definitely sound like a more well-rounded person for sure. But, you know, in terms of social media, it's a little bit difficult, right? The thoughts are relatively short. You know, they may or may not be published somewhere else as well. Like it may be like a snippet of a blog post that's could be in a book or something like that. But websites, it's a little bit more clear when you're copying something. And that is definitely frowned upon. And I just remember when I was first not when I was first starting blogging, I was like a few years in, because I had to look this up because I was like, when did this happen? Because I remember it being a really big deal. It happened in 2010. There was this woman who wrote a blog post about American apple pie, or, you know, as American as apple pie, and the fact that actually apple pie isn't from America. Like it's, you know, I think that was the basic premise of the blog post. And then this publication called Cook Source, which is, I guess, out of here in New England. Maybe that's why we heard a lot about it. It's in Massachusetts, and we're in Maine. So, but this woman had like taken the article, edited it, and put it in her magazine, which had ads in it. So like she was basically kind of profiting off someone's work. So the person who wrote the blog said, you took my thing. I would like an apology, and I'd like you to make a donation to, I think, the Columbia School of Journalism. Like, because, you know, plagiarism and, you know, journalism. And yeah, anyway, like it was almost like a little, but at the same time, like, yeah, like she wasn't asking necessarily for money directly for herself. She was just like, hey, a nice way for you to make it up to me would be for you to make a donation, kind of thing. But also a little, so the owner like wrote back to her and was basically like, I think the quote was like, but honestly, Monica, the web is considered public domain and you should be happy that I didn't lift your whole article and put someone else's name on it.
Wow.
And that basically she edited it to make it a lot better than it was. Like, I'm sorry, but you as a professional should know that the article we used was more well written than yours, kind of thing. And it was in bad need of editing, and it's much better now than it was originally. Like, and so
That's straight up plagiarizing.
right. So anyway, but this is the owner of this magazine. So like the internet like blew up. And I remember, and like there were all these hashtags on Twitter, like, but honestly, Monica, and like some other, there was like, it was a huge deal because bloggers at that time, there wasn't social media and stuff like that. So like if you wrote your blog, like the ideal thing that would happen to you theoretically is like you would get published, like you would use your writing. Yes, you put free writing on your site, but you also would use your writing in, publications and things like that to make a living. So, so it was like a huge, and like I said, the internet went crazy, and basically this person kind of semi-apologized, and I don't think it entirely ever recovered from it. But people lifting things from websites definitely, people take it pretty seriously. Even like some major publications have deleted articles. Like BuzzFeed deleted a bunch of articles that were like basically duplicate content. That's one way to say
duplicate content on other places on the internet, or okay.
I think so. Or it was a little unclear. They just said it said duplicate content, and I was like, okay, so basically one of these articles got copied from somewhere else, or maybe the software copied it. But that seems a little odd that it would only copy 122-ish articles, not all the articles. But
yeah, I think they have so many contributing authors. I think some of their stuff overlaps.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and that's definitely a thing too. But and then on our site, just for fun, not because I really care, they call it, when you take a blog post and put it somewhere else, it's called content scraping, which is like the most disgusting. Anytime I hear the word scraping, it's like, ugh, it sounds gross.
Like the dentist.
Yeah, exactly. You don't, like, usually when you're scraping something, it's not something beautiful that's happening. So, but there's a tool called, it's funny because I first saw it, I was writing an article, or I was writing a blog post about something that appeared in Time magazine, and I was trying to like take a quotation from the Time magazine article so I could put it in the blog, so I could be like, and it said this, so and at the end of it, it said read more, and then there was this weird link, and I was like, what the hell is this?
Thinking of that, actually.
I was like, what the hell is this? So I clicked on it, and it was like, oh, this thing called Tint, Tynt, and it's like a free tool, and you can install it on your site. Basically, you can see whenever content leaves your website. And you can also, like, for people who are super lazy and don't notice there's a link on the end of it, like if someone just takes your content and plops it somewhere, it like has a link back to your original content. And I'm always surprised. I get a little weekly report. I'm always surprised at how many people leave the links in. It's like 4 links coming back to your site from the content. So like 36 times this, this particular blog post has left your site, and like you've gotten 4 visits from it. I'm like, wow, you're so lazy, you didn't even notice there was a link on the end of it. So anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting tool. Not like I care. I feel like whatever, if someone really wants to copy your stuff, knock yourself out. But but good luck with that. So, but like you said, websites, I think it's a little bit more clear. Like if someone has written an article, you don't copy it. Right. You use parts of it, you put it like a quotation, MLA style.
It's funny because whenever I see that, like the little read more at, and whenever I delete it, I always get that like weird feeling like, don't worry, I will attribute you, but in my own way. Not like this.
Right. And it is kind of like a little remind, I guess. Like I said, I have it on the site. I was just curious. Like I was writing a blog post about the tool and I thought, well, I got to see like how many times content leaves our site. I just love that people are copying a blog post about pros and cons of Google Apps from like 2010. It's 2015. I don't think that article is necessarily super relevant anymore.
Sorry, I just had like a weird time like realizing that 2010 was 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I'm like, you're copying an article about Google from 5 years ago. Like, I've got some dinosaur pets I'd want to sell you to at the same time if you're into that stuff. But yeah, but by far the most thing I think that gets copied, people's images get copied or get like re-whatevered, their cartoons, their photographs, just general artwork, I think is more of the problem. Please allow me to scroll down to our notes about images here. But it's definitely like something, like, you want every blog post you write to have an image because Pinterest, because Instagram, because blog posts with images are more likely to be read. So people write the thing and then they're like, okay, what am I going to use for an image? I mean, that's how I feel. It's like paralyzed.
Yeah, unless I have, you know what, I want to like Control Z that whole, pretend I never started speaking. I have not, that was a dead end sentence. Carry on.
Carry on, okay. But you know, I always get stuck on the image because I just don't think that way. Like I'm pretty linear and whatever and literal, and so I just have a hard, like, I just don't look at the world in images. Like I struggle with Instagram. Like I'm just like, hey, be clever.
And I feel like there's another one that people will
take other people's stuff
without necessarily, like, it's really easy to be like, oh, thanks at so-and-so. Like the bigger people, like I follow like Beige Cardigan and like The Girl with No Job, and I don't know any of these. They're very similar to, or like Run Eat Repeat. Like they all, I don't want to say some of the other names because they're kind of, they have inappropriate the titles.
Fair enough.
But they're all kind of, they have the same sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
So they all will kind of share the same stuff, but you're like, who shared it? Now that I'm following all of them, I'm like, you can kind of go see who shared it first, but they don't attribute to each other, which is interesting. Whereas like, I feel like someone like me, I would say like, you know, image originally from at so-and-so and like tag them in the caption, which is what most people will do, or they use a retweet or regram app.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of like the athletes I noticed use the regram app and then tag. So like normal people, I feel like cover all their bases, which is, I don't know.
That's interesting though. And then like, so are the people that you follow that the people in similar vein, are they like lifestyle bloggers or are they more just like fashion? I'm just curious if there's certain groups of people that like seem more likely to attribute. It's interesting that you know as athletes, like, you know, seem to attribute kind of thing.
Athletes
That's interesting.
Seem to attribute, the lifestyle bloggers will, definitely. But it's like
it's like their humor accounts, right? Like
the humor accounts,
yeah.
Which are, you don't know I don't know who's running them.
Right. Well, it's like the Facebook equivalent of this is like radio stations, you know, W1076 or something, and shared this video, and like there's no attribution. It's just like a random video of like, you know, a kid riding a turtle or something, and then you're like,
someone falling into a kiddie pool. Yeah, there's a lot of kiddie pool stuff. I don't know why.
It's the season, but yeah, and you wonder like, okay. You know, why don't you link back to the original YouTube video or something? Yeah. Like you did not film this. Like there's no way that all this stuff happens to you. Like if we're lucky in our lives, we maybe get a couple of viral videos of like really crazy stuff that we just happen to capture. But like, come on, like there is no way that you are having 5 ridiculous things happen to you every day that are you having to videotape and share. And so I never understood like why they don't attribute, because you're right. I feel like it's the accounts where you don't know who's behind them. Maybe when a real person's associated, we feel like, okay, because of our reputation, we should attribute. Maybe that's it.
There's this saying that's like, if you want to find out who someone really is, give them a mask.
Right. Well, like when I used to work at the paper, and this, like I said, this was 2007. This was a little far back, but our publisher insisted that everyone who was allowed to comment on the website had to use their first and last name.
That's no fun. You don't get Bangor Daily.
Right. So meanwhile, the other papers, this was, you know, and then the other paper, it's like anything goes. And like basically, you know, that like meme of Michael Jackson eating popcorn, like I'm just here for the comments. Like, I mean, yeah. So like we would post an article and there'd be like maybe like 1 comment. And then like the same article on the other paper would get like 100.
And that comment would be like the golf clap equivalent of like a comment.
Exactly. No, exactly. It wasn't like, people don't feel a need to throw down when it's associated with their name. And maybe they don't feel a need to attribute unless it reflects directly on them as a person. So, and if athletes are using their verified accounts, like that's them, you know. Yeah, if they steal some picture from a fan, that would go over like fart in church. So,
I've never heard that saying before. That's awesome. I will attribute to you if I ever use it.
You don't. It's like his old. You can attribute it to my mom, and then we can go to her and say, where did she hear it, and like go back and back and back.
Oh my God, there's this Family Guy that's where they try to find out. It's called like The Secret Source or something, and they try to find the source of like every dirty joke ever. But it's like it ends up being like this national treasure hunt where they go and they. Quagmire tells this joke that like makes Peter soil himself basically every time he hears it because it's so bad, and they never shared the joke. Probably because they couldn't think of anything. But then it shows like Quagmire's like, oh, I heard it from him, and then they go back and back and back, and they play like, yeah.
Yeah. For a certain amount of time, yeah. Fart in church, don't need to attribute. That's not a brand new thought. But yeah, images are definitely by far the most thing that gets plagiarized the most. And honestly, yeah, if it was a photographer, yeah, it would piss me off too. And you know what, writers too, like I said, we get our stuff lifted, but usually people cry out when some woman takes an article and puts it in her magazine without attribution, right?
Right.
But whereas like a photographer, like someone takes a really cool image, and it gets shared everywhere, and that photographer doesn't necessarily get anything except basically 100,000 pats on the back from the internet. Like, so I understand like not taking image material. Like I think that's really important. So we practice what we preach here, and it's so funny because people will be like, "Oh, can't we just go on Google Images?" And I'm like, and so I always like if they're gonna like publish something, I said, listen, like most people just use stock photos for this reason because they don't necessarily have the energy to go out and take pictures of things. And so like finally I broke down and got us a stock photo account about 4 months ago, and I was like, okay, this way we have it, and like if we need stuff, we're not like, oh well, could this work? And so I just was like, fine, it's like $10 a month or something, and we get it's the dollar photo club. It's just something to work with. I'm not saying it's always the best stuff, but it's definitely better than nothing for sure. Mm-hmm. And since we pay to use the image online, like when we download it, we pay for it and our rights are covered kind of thing. But if you're really looking for something free, that's what Creative Commons is for. And that's like basically, people can license their works to different levels. Like, so, for example, and when you do a search on Creative Commons, you can specify that you're looking for things that you can modify, adapt, or build upon. So let's say you find an image and you decide you want to make it black and white, or you want to crop it differently, or, like basically you're taking something and modifying it, right? So you need something that the person has given you rights to modify if you're going to use something free. And then the other thing that you check off in the search is can use for commercial purposes. So especially if you're going to use this on a business blog or something like that, with us, like I always wonder, I'm like, okay, well, we're not making money directly off the blog. So, but I'm like, but we are a business. So I always check off those 2 boxes when I do a search. And yeah, honestly, you do a search without those 2 boxes checked off, you get a lot more stuff come up, but it's the way to do it. And there are WordPress plugins that automatically let you attribute things in the caption. So like, yeah, like it'll automatically connect with Flickr Creative Commons kind of thing. You can do the search right within your blog, have it dump in, and it'll say via @Flickr user, blah, 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 and it'll link to them. So there's also like, if you just basically look up, citing images online, there's all these librarians and cool people who've like figured out like basically the MLA way to cite an image that you have the right to use. Because a lot of times these people on Creative Commons, they make their work available and all they want is attribution. And it's like literally the least you can do. If you're like taking a photograph, the least you can do is link back to their work and attribute the photograph to them. Like they're giving you basically a free use of part of their work. So that is like the least you can do. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people, they want to avoid that. That's why they use the stock photos. I want to be better at taking photos for us, but I'm just not a good photographer. But that said, if you're in the area and you happen to be here in a couple of weeks, we're doing a class. We have actually a photographer coming in and showing us how to take good pictures with our smartphone. So maybe what we'll do is we'll go to that class, and maybe with the Tech Thursday after that, we can just like do a little summary thing.
Oh yeah.
So that might be fun. And, you know, we can talk about like kind of, she's going to talk about composition, which is like, you know, setting up the photo, and then she's going to talk about post-production, like how to edit it and stuff like that. So
I feel like I'm good at editing, but you know, my source material, I don't give myself a lot to work with.
You know, and I think that's, I know, I'm always like, okay. Yeah, like I'm taking the art class last night. So I took this like class, and like part of it was like you basically set something up and then took a picture of it. But if you took a bad picture of it, there was like, it was really hard to make it look good. So like, you know, I had to take 2 or 3 versions of like the same picture to like, okay, there's a weird shadow in the upper left corner. Like, let's move the light, you know, about, you know, so basically she had this like huge like floodlight, you know, those lights that you get at the hardware store that like clip on, like the metal ones. Yeah. It was like one of those like being held over. And you know what, like without it, I have a picture without it and I have a picture with it. And it's like a million times better. So yeah, setting yourself up is definitely, it's definitely a good thing. So, but if you're gonna use someone's work for free, make sure it's allowed and make sure you attribute it.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
This is mine now.
Well,
this is my thing.
Welcome to Common Sense Thursday.
Right. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So attribute. It's the nice thing to do because some people put a lot of time and effort into what you're using.
Yeah. Good internet karma.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Good call. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about attribution?
That pretty much was it. That was my big thing.
Cool.
The internet karma. I was stating that this whole time.
Really? You were just sitting on that this whole time?
Yeah, I was like, wait for it. Wait for it. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Patience is a virtue.
Absolutely.
I could have come out with that at the beginning, but you know, I like to go with a bang. So if you have any future questions for us, leave a comment in this video or visit our website, breakingevening.com.
Yeah.
If you see something you like, make sure to attribute it if you want to share it.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Have a good week, everyone.